call it a dirty 30. If I don't set a timer, we'll be here for probably 2 hours. I'm horrible at it.
There's some pretty cool names on here.
Man, I'm starting to get a few. Yeah. It's
very cool.
There's still a few more I want to get. I've tried to reach out to like Billy Teagarden. I think that'd be some good stories there. I've talked to Troy Green has said yes, but we just haven't made the time to do it yet. So yeah, we'll get them. We'll get some more on there. There's some cool stuff going on.
I've got a helmet for Cat. It's got all kinds of stuff. It's got Richard Petty on it, and it's got a lot of local guys on it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Any subjects, is there any topics? I mean, there's probably a lot that I don't know. Anything that you're not comfortable or you don't want to talk about?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Anything I ask, you're good.
I'm good, man. I ain't got nothing to hide.
Okay.
Hell, about everybody knows most of it anyway.
Gotcha. All right. Ready?
Yeah.
Very good. DJ Smallwood, Slingin Dirt Media. Found my way out in Versailles, Indiana. Is that right?
Yeah, Versailles.
Versailles. I'm out here in the shop with Bill Wagner. Bill, thanks for having me, man.
No, we appreciate it.
So, what's going on?
Well, as you can see behind us here, we
got some race cars here.
Yeah, we're getting everything ready. We're going to try to hopefully hit that March 2nd race there and support those guys with Northern All-Stars. We ran that Northern All-Star Series back in '01 when they had it. That was a lot of fun, and I'm kind of glad they're resurrecting that deal.
That's a pretty cool deal. I remember, I was a little bit younger back then, but it's like, hey, there was a lot of big name drivers. They went on to be bigger.
Yeah.
Maybe started there,
Yeah, it was a lot of fun back then. We raced a lot of different racetracks, and actually, racing all those different racetracks is what builds a good race car driver.
Sure.
And we raced a ton that year, and we raced different surfaces, big tracks, small tracks. It was just a lot of fun.
Did you have a favorite track?
Well,
that's kind of a cookie cutter kind of answer, but
no, really. I like racing over at Florence. I
Florence,
do.
okay.
I love Florence Speedway. I do.
Yeah.
So,
It seemed I remember you mostly in modifieds. Mm-hmm. So we probably raced against each other a little bit. Probably you was probably a little closer to the front than I was, though. But now you raced a lot at Lawrenceburg too, didn't you?
Yeah. We used to. We raced Lawrenceburg and Florence quite a bit. We started going to Florence because back in the early 2000s, they put some different dirt on Lawrenceburg, and it got really, really rough. And they actually called it the cowboy track for the longest time. Huh. So I remember we went over to Florence one night, and Lawrenceburg paid a little bit more than Florence did. But we went over there, we raced, we won the feature, and we come back. I never made contact with another car, didn't have to really do anything other than wash it. And we came back, and we watched the feature at Lawrenceburg, and Brad Wick won that night.
Really?
So we got out of the parking lot, and we were drinking beer, and I was like, dude, I'm not sure. You won more, but I didn't tear anything up, So that's the reason we started going over to Florence, and I just fell in love with it, really.
Man, I remember you talk about, what year was this you're talking? Early?
Probably between 2002 to 2003, 4.
Yeah.
The track got really
back
rough.
when it was just Florence was black slick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Florence,
it was just like black ice.
Loved that. Loved going over there.
I remember you could see the pictures of the cars in the corners, and the photographer you could see like almost a full reflection on the racetrack.
Yeah.
It's like you don't see tracks like that much anymore.
No, you don't. And I don't know. I like racing on those black slick tracks. I really do.
Yes. It's easier on equipment.
It's easier on equipment, and it kind of brings the driver back into it and eliminates the horsepower factor a little bit.
Sure.
So that's what I like racing. Yeah. And I'm 50 years old now, so those hooked up, hammer down things, I wake up
that's
next
not for me.
Oh, God, Lord, So
right.
Yeah.
I remember so when it was black slick. Cool. I felt like I was a little more equal playing field then because I didn't have the big motor and the big stuff. Little 406, I could keep up then. Yeah, but man, if we got rain on Wednesday or Thursday, I'm like, man, I'm running toward the back this week.
You got to get on top end there.
Yeah. Big dogs.
Yeah.
I remember you running the big dogs and stuff down at Lawrenceburg when they used to have those.
Such a great race, man.
Yeah.
Tommy Wick did those, and man, that was a lot of fun. I actually sat on the I sat on the outside pole and led like the first 20-some laps the first year they had that. And I remember, because it paid $20 a lap to lead.
Right.
The caution came out. And those were the fastest caution laps I'd ever run in my life. And finally, they came on the radio and they said, Bill, we know you're trying to win $20 a lap to slow down.
Right. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, they had the big dog, and then what was the other one? Like Fun Fest.
Yeah.
Those are big events for, modified. It seemed like they were the big ticket there.
Yeah, that Fun Fest that was a lot of fun too. And there's some horror stories about those.
Go ahead, I got time.
I led that Fun Fest race into feature with less than 5 laps to go, like 4 or 5 times, and I never did win that race.
Really?
Yeah. Daryl Herbert passed me with like 2 laps to go one year.
Man, there's a name.
Yeah, and then one night we were leading with just a few laps to go, and the left front spindle broke in half. Back then, I had never broken a left front spindle, and to this day, I've never broken a left front, and it just snapped. I didn't make any contact with it, it just snapped, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Now, were you running like the spindle savers? Remember the little bolt on, the extra piece?
Yeah. Well, it broke right above the where the snout comes out. It actually broke in half right above that. So it was just
freak.
It's probably been cracked for a while, and
Yeah.
that's just what it decided to do and cost me some money.
So where did you start at? You didn't just start right at a modified, did you? You started right at a modified.
Yeah, I went and I've been around racing my whole life. My first memories are at racetracks. I used to be a big Tommy Day fan, and we used to go down to North Vernon and watch, them guys, and Steve Boley and Lee Fleetwood and them guys. I used to love it.
Yeah.
But I was running around with Gary DeWitt. We were helping John Gill out a little bit. And so Gary had a car. They built these cars years before. They were called Nasty Chassis. And it was sitting in there. And I decided I wanted to drive a race car.
Yeah.
So I bought that thing for $3,500. And then I sold an old Stratus boat, a little 16-foot bass boat.
Yeah.
And I sold it for $3,500. And I bought me a motor from Randy over at Hoosier Parts in Seymour. So I had $7,000 in my first race car.
Right.
And I just went and raced.
Yeah.
Just... Gil told me one time, he's like, how do you teach a baby to swim? You throw it in the water. I said, all right, let's race.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
So the funny part about that is my first race car was a Gary DeWitt car.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was. Now, at the time, I don't remember if it had a name or not. This was way before the Cyclones. This was when Ted Nobby was still big into modifieds. Before he went late model the first time, he had a DeWitt car.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was DeWitt and Monroe or whatever it was.
Yeah, we had a couple of those.
Yeah. So when Ted quit, he'd won the track championship in that car. He sold that car to Kevin Hartman. Kevin Hartman ran it for a year, maybe 2. I think he ran second in points in that car. I'm like, it's time for me to go modified. And lo and behold, that was the car I ended up with.
Oh, they were good race cars.
Yeah.
Ted had one, and Sean Negengard had one built.
Yes.
And it was really nice. And Sean had decided they were going to go late model race, and they went and bought him a Rayburn. So I bought Sean's car.
Okay.
So I kind of had the sister car to Ted. They were building them at the same time.
Yeah. I love that car.
Yeah.
It was kind of simple. It was a lot like a Pierce car. I went over. Not that I was big buddies with Billy Vaughn, but I looked up to Billy, and Billy did a lot of good stuff, and he did things right. It's like, hey, Billy, I've got this car, man. I don't know what to do. I need some help. And he says, man, come over, bring your notepad, whatever you want. It's an open book. Yeah. I'm like, okay. So, man, I'm drawing diagrams, and I'm taking notes. And, man, it was a very similar car. Yeah. It was Z-Link on the right side and 4-bar on the left. And it was real simple. Not a whole lot of adjustments. I'm like, that's me. Yeah. I don't need to get myself out of the ballpark.
Yeah, we ran that car in 99, 2000, and 2001. We ran the whole Northern All-Star deal with it. So we ran all that thing, and when we were done with it, that car was done.
It was done.
It was ready to go.
Yeah.
So we went and bought us an Ellis car after that.
Yeah.
We won a lot of racing that Ellis car. It was a good old car. And I don't understand why, because if you did the steering geometry on it, you were supposed to be able to turn it in a 40-acre field.
Right.
It was a fast little race car. So
Daryl Herbert had one of those. He was fairly quick in his, too. I remember that.
Yeah, we did a few things to those cars.
Sure.
If people, I've told Brett about it, but I remember we won a feature down at Lawrenceburg one night, and every time I'd hit the gas on a restart, something was just clanking and clanking and clanking, you know. And so we get out of the race, you know, and everybody's all fired up. I look underneath there, and my dad's next to me, and I hit him on the shoulder and say, hey, look under that car. And the X that was between the two frame rails had broken out completely, and the only thing that was holding it in there was zip tied to the brake lines. That's the only thing holding it in there. And the only reason it broke out, and I didn't tell anybody this at the time, but when we cut that out.
Okay.
And we put electrical conduit in there.
Ah.
Yeah, and it was real thin.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell anybody really about it. I don't even know if I told my dad about it.
Right.
But it made the car real flexible.
Yeah.
But the night that X broke out of it, that was the best handling car I'd ever had in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
With no X?
Yeah. It was
just clanking.
I was just glad nobody hit me in the door.
Right.
You know, it would have been trouble then.
That would have been.
But, you know, you're leading and you're going to drive until if something breaks, you know. I wasn't going to pull in, you know.
That car, so I took it to Lawrenceburg somewhere in my first year there. And it had the stock lower A-frames in it. But they had been drilled all out, lighten them up. And went through tech, and guys like, you can't run those. You can't drill all those holes in that. I'm like, okay. I said, well, I'll go back to the trailer, swap them out, bring it back. He says, all right. He said, bring it back up when you're done, and you're good. I went back to the trailer, and I had some masking tape, and I taped them over real good, and some black spray paint real quick, and I kicked dirt on them, made them look old. Ran up there, and he's like, all right, looks good.
We ran into the same deal, and they tried to say that one day, and they said, well, the rules say you can't alter them. Mm-hmm. I said, and every car here is illegal, because they've been painted.
Yeah.
They're altered.
It's altered.
Technically, they're altered.
Yeah.
Well, you got a good point. You go, just when you bring it back, don't have minutes.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like I've done my share of teching at racetracks and stuff, and I have said that I can tell you if a guy's cheating or not before he rolls up to me. They're like, how's that? I said, does it have a number on it somewhere? Like, yeah. I said, then there's something somewhere in that car. Is this a smidge off somewhere?
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to fess up to it, but somewhere along the lines they're pushing the envelope somewhere. Yeah.
That's part of the racing, though. That's part of the mystique of it.
If you're not trying, you got to try to, I don't know, push those envelopes anywhere you can, I guess.
Yeah, when we were running really well there back in the early 2000s, you know, it was kind of monkey see, monkey do.
Sure.
You know, so what we started doing is I took a valve cover and I put like that expanding foam.
Yeah.
And I made it look like weight, like lead weight. We painted it gray, and I bolted it on the goofiest places on a race car. And we go to the racetrack next week, and people have lead bolted there.
It's the same spot.
Just the worst place you could ever have it, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just, we used to mess with people.
Yeah.
It was fun.
You know, you say that, the monkey see, monkey do. And I've always wondered this, you know, I've said hi. I've never really sat down and had that full-on conversation with Scott Bloomquist. And I'm just curious, is that guy really that far out there, or is that part of his image that sells the T-shirts and sells? Because, you know, he's done some off-the-wall stuff.
He has.
And it's monkey see, monkey do.
You know, first of all, you got to give credit where credit's due.
The man's good. The man is good.
Was unbelievable. I think he can still drive a race car. I think he's a little bit behind the game right now.
Yeah.
But if you notice, at the end of the year last year, he started running a little bit better.
Yeah.
His car started running a little bit better. But the guy, he's a pretty wild dude. I know we were at Hollywood Casino one time, and it was myself, Jill, Eric Schnabel, and Scott was there, and we were all drinking and having a good time. And we got kicked out of the casino because Scott was doing this, and the guy from Integra Shocks, Scott wouldn't put Integra Shocks on his cars.
Okay.
And he said something to Scott there at the bar in the boat, and Scott just turns around, and I don't want to get too graphic, but he just turns around and he goes, "Suck my V." he didn't say what you'd think he was going to say, V. And that guy went and got security, and they kicked us out of the casino. So he's a wild man. He is.
Yeah. The guy's he's wild.
But you got to respect it, though, man. He does his thing. He does not care what you think.
He does.
Does not matter.
He is Scott, and he's going to do it his way.
Yeah, and it's, I think as the years go on and people hear things, legends grow.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
You know, so and I don't know about the drugs. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
Everybody says all that stuff, but until I see it, I don't believe it.
Yeah. I heard some of the stories what he told Dale Jr. I was like, yeah, I could totally see it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, good enough for me. I mean, who am I to care? Yeah. I'm not the judge. Who cares?
But yeah, there's a lot of those guys though that were just terrific race car drivers. I grew up just idolizing, like Billy Moyer and guys like that. I don't know. I that's really what fuels your passion for it, is to see guys like that. And you do want to emulate that. Monkey see, monkey do.
Monkey see, monkey do.
We've never really. I mean, we could race at a higher level than what we do, but there's a reason we've done it every year since 1997. Because we race within our means.
Sure.
And so we've never really had the opportunity to do anything at a really super high level, because we want to race next year.
Sure.
And that's one of the things I'm teaching.
You don't want to just do it all at once.
Yeah, and you see a lot of guys do that.
Yeah.
They're in and out real quick,
Yep.
So, Brett, he's coming on, and he understands that we got to race within our budget, and we're gonna be there next year, and we'll be there the year after, the year after.
As long as everything's willing.
Yeah.
It's there.
So, and my dad, he still helps out, and I shouldn't say helps out. He does a lot.
He does a lot.
He does a lot.
That's good.
Because me and Brett are out working every day. And, we came in here last Sunday, and both motors are out of the cars. And that's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I got in here, both motors are sitting out, ready to put back in. So we kind of had a race to see who could put their motor in quicker. So there was kind of some.
I got to ask, who won? Or was it a draw?
It was about the same, really. It was about the same.
Right.
Yeah. I will say that I was handicapped a little bit because I had to change the oiling systems over and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so, I don't know.
All right. Give me your Mount Rushmore drivers.
Of course, you got to put Scott on there. There's guys years ago that I never got to watch. So I can't put them on a list because I never actually witnessed it with my two eyes.
Everybody's Mount Rushmore is going to be kind of generational.
Yeah. I think you got to put Billy Moyer on there. Mm-hmm. Who else would I put on there? Man, that's a tough question.
Here's where the next two get real. Yeah. I feel like there's three drivers and they could go either way.
Yeah, I think you got
maybe 4 or 5 drivers.
Yeah, I think you got to put Freddie Smith on that. I like Freddie.
No. Like Freddie growing up. Freddie as a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, and he got won a lot of races before.
He did.
Everybody in this generation sees what he did toward the end of his career. Well, that's really not indicative of how good of a race car driver that guy really was. Sure. Man, that gets really hard. I've got 1,000 names running through there. Now I got to pick 2 more.
Well, 1 more. If you throw Freddie on there, now you're down to 1.
Yeah. I got Jimmy Owens.
Jimmy Owens, yeah. Okay.
I think Jimmy is just a great race car driver. He went, I remember racing against him in mods, the guy, he annihilated us in mods, and he gets in a late model and annihilates us in a late model.
I love seeing those drivers that have came from modifieds and then have moved up and still been successful there.
Oh yeah, if like when Jimmy started running well, I felt like that was me out there. And we all know
could have been me. Yeah.
But I rooted for him just because I'd squared up against him in modifieds and stuff like that. I was like, go Jimmy.
Yeah.
We liked that.
I had a conversation with David Sturmey last week, and he said he's still racing. They're racing what they can and what they can have fun and be competitive. Mm-hmm. He says, we could spend the money and be on a late model. He said, but the time that it would take and the late model level, it's just there's no way they could compete. Yeah. He said, so in the modifieds, they could still go out and have fun and be competitive.
Yeah, still be a big fish in a little pond.
Big fish in a little pond, yeah.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah. That's actually the reason we got out of the modified game. Like I told you before, our first car was $7,000.
Yeah.
And $3,500 doesn't even buy you a crankshaft now. So the amount of money that you were racing for, the cost, and burning up tires the way that we were and stuff like that. It's just so we bought a crate, and then it's one of those deals where it just fuels your appetite even more. And the first time I actually got into a crate late model, I was going down the backstretch and I felt like I needed to put my foot out the door and go.
Come on, let's go.
But when I went in the first corner, the suspension was wildly different, and I fell in love with it right then. So we've run that for a couple years. I put Brett in a car, and he's raced a lot more than I have. I only race 1 or 2 times a year now, but this year was going to be a little bit different. So I decided that my first time in a Super was going to be at the Dome.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good decision. But no, that was fun out there. I loved that. That was what an experience.
That place is unique.
Yeah, we'll go back next
year.
The
atmosphere, just everything.
Well, you got to go out there with the right mindset.
Yes.
You're going out there for the event and the experience and to have fun. Because if not, you're going to get really mad. Look at all the tempers that flare.
You're going to be very disappointed.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when you've got a bunch of parts just hanging off your car, you're going to be wildly disappointed.
Yeah, and we had went out there and we'd bought the motor like 2 or 3 weeks before we put it in the car, and we fired the car up literally a day or 2 before we went out there.
Yeah.
So we were going out there. We didn't know if the car was going to run well. We had no idea,
We figured out.
And in the heat race, we were trying to pass. I think it's Bob Gardner for second, and we were making some ground.
Yeah.
And we got run in the infield. And that put us at the tail. That just ruined the weekend. So then at that point, you just say, all right, I'm going to take what I can get. I'm not going to tear my race car up, But if you go out there with the right mindset, that is a blast.
It's a blast.
Love it.
Yeah.
We'll go back next year.
Good.
The drive home kind of blows.
I think the drive there blew too.
It wasn't bad for me because I slept on the way home. But Brett told me all about it.
I remember I think it was the second year they had the Dome. That's when I went. Mm-hmm. Me and a buddy went, and we left here. We got in the car. We had it on flow or dirt on dirt, whatever. We're watching it all the way there, and they're qualifying. We didn't miss anything. It took that 5 hours to drive to get there to completely qualify everything. So it was like, we got there just in time. Didn't miss anything.
Well, they had a lot more cars, and they had more classes, too. That's probably when they had midgets and stuff, too.
I think that was a couple years later. But I was there the year they had the midgets.
Yeah, we went out there that year.
And I feel like the midgets put on a pretty good show.
Yeah, well, the thing is it's all in relationship to size. Those little short wheelbases.
Yes.
They did put on a pretty good show.
They did.
It didn't fit, with the late model thing. I'm not a race car snob, man. I love all kinds of racing.
Same.
I love watching street stocks.
Yeah.
I love watching mini stocks. Not everybody's like that.
Yes.
So when we were out there, I kind of enjoyed watching the little cars go around there because buddy of mine, Andy, used to drive a TQ midget. And I crewed for him, so we ran around and, we raced with like the Golfs and so I enjoy all forms of dirt racing. I don't care.
Yeah.
I even like going to horse races.
I still, to this day, I will tell people, and I've mentioned it several times, probably one of the best races I've ever seen was a stock car race at Eldora. Mm-hmm. And it was in between, it was like during the prelude, one of the preludes back when they had those, and how was it? I feel like they only did like the top 24 in points, the modifieds, and then the top 24 in points with the street stocks, and they got to race in between the heat races or whatever. So me and my buddy Josh were there, and we're standing at the bar, and we're not really heckling, but you could tell it's a NASCAR crowd. Mm-hmm. We knew what drivers were in whose car, so we could kind of see the coaching and the characteristics that they're trying there. So everybody's just going to the bar, not really paying attention to the stock cars and the modifieds. So Ernie Woodward and Jeff Babcock, every single lap, I'm not exaggerating when I say a minimum of 4 passes every single lap. I'm like, these people have no idea this is the best race ever here. They don't have no idea. And I'm like,
well, the problem is the cars, they're not as sexy. So they don't have the flash and the appeal.
Yeah.
But them guys, they work on their cars just as hard as we do.
Absolutely.
And they put their heart and soul into it. And
absolutely.
If you're a true fan of true motorsports, man, you appreciate that.
Sure.
And when I grew up, we used to go down to North Vernon and watch Jim Moore and Tommy Day and them guys.
Yeah.
Them cars to today's standards are jalopies.
Jalopies.
But at the time, man, they were great. And the older I get, the more I like watching old street stocks and stuff like that because it kind of takes me back to years gone by.
So you talk about that era. You might have. My dad had a second cousin. He raced at North Vernon for a long time, and I went out for. Do you remember the Iron Man series Florence used to have? I think they went to Whitewater, Union County, and then Twin Cities. Mm-hmm. And I went there with Mona, Jerry, and Josh one night. And there was this blue Camaro with pink number. The letters was AD, Daryl Smallwood. Like,
Daryl, I talked to
I've
Daryl on
heard
the
that name before.
I talked to Daryl on the phone this week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
he
is
used
my
to drive Dad's car.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my dad's second cousin.
Yeah.
So I've went through and I've seen, on Facebook, we've talked several times since then. I was a kid then, but it's like I've went through and it's like he had a 36 car, ran for, I'm like, 36, I loved it. That's me.
Yeah.
It's like, how about that?
Yeah, Daryl, he was a good race car driver. Back in the day, man,
yeah.
he was as good as they got. But Dad used to own cars back in the late 70s, early 80s, and used to have Abe Mosier drive for us, and then Daryl got in the car, and Daryl won us some races. But Daryl was a good race car. But yeah, it's kind of ironic you brought that up because I just talked to him this week. I'm restoring a shotgun for him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, that was back when, that was a long time ago.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, we went over to, Osgood used to have a racetrack over here.
Okay.
And we used to go over there and race on Sunday afternoons. Of course, I'm a little kid, and we'd get there. Cars just tore all apart, and the hood's up. Dad had a 77 Dodge Power Wagon, and the hood's up.
Okay.
So Abe Mosier had stuffed in the wall, like hot laps or qualifying or whatever, and Dad took the radiator out of the pickup truck, put it in the race car, raced, took it out of the race car, put it back in the truck so we get home.
Change the motor at the track.
Just
to
the radiator.
Get home. Yeah.
Just
the radiator. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, that's just how racing's changed over the years, man.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard stories like that with carburetors before. Guys needed a carburetor, they'd take the carburetor off their pickup truck, put it on the race car.
Put a quadrojet on there and go.
Yeah.
Huh. But yeah, I don't know. It's over the years, man. It's been a good ride, man. Like I said, I'm 50 now and bought my first car in 97 and
97, okay.
And the older you get, your perspective changes. Mm-hmm. But now, I think more than anything, to me, the racing is about the people.
Sure.
This spring, I cannot wait to get there and see my friends.
Yeah.
I just can't wait.
Your racing family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the older you get, the more that means to you.
Sure.
But yeah, that's what I look forward to.
Well, I've got one more question before we wrap things up, and this is kind of you can tell it however you want. Whether it's, if you want to tell me what's the dirtiest, what's the worst thing you've ever done to somebody on the racetrack, or what's the worst thing you've ever had done to you?
Pretty easy, really. So I'll preface it with, me and him, we're friends now.
Okay.
And he buys stuff from us. But we were running like second or third down at Florence, and white flag, turn 3 and 4, and I just get body slammed. I mean, just hard. And I spin out, and we didn't finish the race, and he went on to finish whatever second or third or whatever.
Right.
And so we get back in the pits, and he hadn't been driving, super long. And I went over there, and I was mad.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What car are you with?" And I said, "How many cars do you have to hit to ask that question?" I was mad. So I vowed, like, next weekend, you might as well not even line up.
Yeah.
So next weekend we go to Lawrenceburg, and I start like outside third row. He starts outside fourth row. And we took the green flag, and I pulled over, hit the brakes, let him go by, and hooked him in the right rear to see him run the wall.
It was time.
I shouldn't have done that, and it was Scotty Kincaid's. It was.
Yeah.
And Scotty's a great guy, man. It's just as you go through time, I was mad at the time.
Uh-huh.
I shouldn't have done it, but I did. And to be honest with you, of all the times I've been racing, I've only taken somebody out on purpose maybe 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Because I know that everybody works hard on their cars.
Right.
But that was probably the worst thing I'd ever done racing.
Yeah.
Because not only for him, we were at the front of the field. There's a lot of cars behind us that could have taken out, But your ego and
you get mad. Emotions run high.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, and I had a week to cool down, and I still did.
I was still mad about it.
But that's just the way it goes. And Scotty, I hope you don't care if I've told that story, but it's the truth.
Yeah, it happens, right?
Yeah.
It's probably been done to you,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it has. Yeah. Well, Sean Tolson, you mentioned him. He took me out on Florence one night.
Yeah, man.
He took me out going down a backstretch one night. And he and I had made some contact in 1 and 2. And it was one of those nights where it was right up on the wall. Uh-huh. And we made a little bit of contact. And a little bit later in the race, I was turned backwards. Mm-hmm. So it happens. And Sean's a great guy. Me and him, we still talk about catfishing every time we see each other.
Yeah, Sean does a lot of fishing nowadays.
Yeah.
I had a particular guy. He's passed away, so I'm going to leave his name out of it because I don't want to talk bad about somebody.
Oh, yeah.
But we were racing pretty hard in a B main for training. We were both in the show. They were taking like top 2, 3, whatever it was. We're both in, and I was going low every time, and he was going high. And coming down straight away, I could look over and I could see the air cleaner. That's all I could see. So I'm like, all right, as long as we can keep that at the line, that's all that matters, you know. And so this happened. This went on for the entire race. I'd go to the bottom and I could see him just set sail on the top, and then we'd come off and down the straightaway we went, just like that. And man, it wasn't. There was only a handful of laps to go, and I tore my bottom in turn 3 at Florence, and man, all of a sudden this car was here that had never been there, and now all of a sudden he just drove straight.
Oh, yeah.
My car, I went like this and hit the wall, and it twisted the motor in the chassis. I mean, it ripped the mounts and everything. Yeah, it was. I was like,
a hard wreck.
It was a hard wreck. I'm like, all that to win a B main. All that to win a B main, and then the guy got DQ'd for rough driving. So now neither one of us.
Well, I tell you, there was one time that the guy thought I drove him dirty, but I didn't.
Yeah.
All right. How many times have you heard that?
Yeah.
But we were at Lawrenceburg, and we were, I don't know, it was probably the second or third lap of the race, running third or fourth, coming out of turn 4, a rock came in my cockpit. And to this day, I still can't bend his finger.
Really?
Yeah. And what it was a rock came in, and it snapped my finger, and it shoved the bone out the end of my finger about that far.
Ouch.
It hit it like this.
Yeah.
Well, when it happened, I took my hand off the wheel, and I kind of did this number. Well, I rear-ended going down the front stretch at full speed, Bub Ballsy.
Okay.
All right. So Bub spins out, and he's thinking that I did it on purpose, and he's mad. He's just seething. So under caution, I'm sitting there, well, I broke my hand. I couldn't really see what happened. I thought, I broke my hand.
Something's not right.
So I'm going to pull in and have a broken hand, or I'm going to finish the race, win some money, and have a broken hand.
It's going to be what's going to be.
Yeah, so I stayed out there, and I think we ran like 7th or something like that. But when I got back in the pits, it was like 100 degrees, and it hurt so bad, and I'm about to get sick because it hurt so bad. So I pull back in the pits, and I take my steering wheel off, and I set it on the deck lid, and I just put my head down. And next thing you know, Bub runs over to my car, grabs my steering wheel, and starts hitting me in the head with it.
Oh, okay.
Because he thought I did that.
Yeah.
So, he's sitting there, he's bashing me in my helmet. I don't know what's going on. And next thing you know,
I was done.
Big ruckus breaks out. And then when I got out of the car and he realized that I was hurt, and then it was a different story.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you need help, and Bub's a great guy, too. I love the world of him. He's a good dude. But he didn't he thought I'd raced him dirty, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But, to this day, I still can't bend that finger.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Man, these are great stories.
Yeah.
Man, we could probably be here for another hour.
Yeah. Get a case of beer. We'll stay here till midnight.
Right. So before we wrap things up, who all do you got to thank?
I got to thank, number one, I got to thank my dad. Through all these years, man, he has been there. Yeah. He's put up with me getting mad and screaming and hollering and
acting
throwing
like
wrenches.
a fool.
Got mad one night, thrown a cat.
It deserves it. It's a cat.
But I got to thank him. Got to thank Brett and Drew. Brett, he's driving now, but these guys have supported me the entire time.
Right.
And got to thank some old friends that we really don't see a whole lot anymore. But back early on, a guy named Jeff Burton. Mm-hmm. Jeff's passed away. Jeff, probably one of the best friends I ever had. Yeah. But he worked on these race cars with us just diligently. And it did not matter where we went racing, he went.
He was there.
Yeah, he did not care. Rod Wilhoit used to, he raced with us a lot back when we were doing a lot of that stuff. We don't see Rod a whole lot anymore, but just, life's changed.
Yep.
Sponsorship-wise, I've got my company, which is USMG. It's a mechanical contracting company. Got to thank Wagner 28 Motorsports, which my dad, a lot of people don't realize it, but we supply a lot of parts and supplies to a lot of the racers.
Really?
The parts truck down at Lawrenceburg.
Yeah.
We supply all that.
Oh, okay.
We've sold a lot of guys over in Florence, so been a Hoosier tire dealer for, I think, 12 years now, and Renegade Race Fuels. Tiger at Tiger and Sons Transportation. He's a real big supporter of Brett. He's been with us since Brett started racing. And every year he's helped us out more and more and more.
Yeah.
And he's such a great guy. Comes to the racetrack, and
Right.
just, what else can you ask for?
Yeah, that's what you look for right there. Build
it really
build that
is.
working relationship that is good, is a win-win.
Yeah, and it's actually Brett's stepfather.
Okay.
So it's just it's a good relationship.
Good deal.
We appreciate it. So, but yeah, other than that, sponsorship wise, we do most of it ourselves.
Right.
The racing business does help pay for it.
Right.
And Brett even kicks in money now, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's how it works, ain't it?
Yeah.
Cool.
So, but no, we appreciate you guys coming out here, man. We've been looking forward to it ever since you sent us the message.
Yeah.
Let's do that. That'll be a lot of fun.
I messaged the guy one time. I was like, "Hey man, let's do this. You want to do an episode with me?" And he messaged me back. He said, "Are you talking about the right guy here?" He says, "You're looking for the NASCAR Josh." And I'm like, "No, I'm looking for you."
Yeah.
So I went and did. It was Josh Williams.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's like, when I showed it, he said, "Man, my kids still can't believe you're here to do an episode with me." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude." I'm like, "You got some great stories."
I still talk to Josh every now and then.
Yeah.
He was one of our sales guys down there at Cork and Steel.
Yeah.
We still talk to him every now and then.
Yeah,
So,
great guy.
Yeah.
Great stories.
I like him a lot. Yeah.
If you haven't, checked his episode out. It was a great one.
Oh yeah. I could probably add to a couple of them of all the stories on Josh, but we won't.
We'll leave those for off-camera beer drinking. Cool.
So yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, hey, appreciate
Sounds
it,
good.
man.
Yep.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
Yep. We're going to wrap things up. Man, this has been a good one. Hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe and all that great stuff. And we'll check Brett and Bill out the track this year. If you guys need anything, don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. And we'll see you at the track next week. Thanks. Bam.
All right.
Just like that.